What's going on, wrestling fans? It's September 1st. It is Labor Day here in the United States of America. And you're joining the boys of WrestlingRumors.net here in the basement. Yeah, that's right. We the people, as John is putting his hand over his heart at the moment. You can't see that yet. You will in a second. It is another day here in the dungeon, and another day joining you for Wrestling Warm-Up. It's our Raw pre-show. We're going to talk a little bit about last week's Raw. No, we're not. Last week's Raw was so awful. It was one of those things where I honestly debated whether or not we should do a show.
Yeah.
Before today.
It was one of the worst Raws I can ever remember, and that's not hyperbole. It was just so uninteresting from start to finish.
It's just bad. It was just bad. And with it being Labor Day, I was like, well, should we do one anyway? Alex isn't going to be here. Walter's not going to be here. For those wondering, yes, those are snowflakes on my shirt. This is a You Serious Clark Christmas Vacation quote shirt. I don't know, just something I put on today. I didn't really care. I've done nothing today. It's been fantastic.
Good for you.
First nothing day.
Laborless day.
I stayed away as much work as I've been doing. I spent the whole weekend awake. I got like 4 hours of sleep in literally 72 hours. It was just a mess of stuff, so I literally did nothing today. It's Labor Day. I have a beer. Pumpkin season's back.
Water it is.
Pumpkin everything. I got an air freshener back here kicking out pumpkin pie scent as well. It's about time for fall. It's about time for that good old stuff coming back. I mean,
Which was the best season of WWE programming, right?
Exactly right. Yes, the time where I'm actually okay. Let's talk about that, John. Because we know the fall is usually the worst time for WWE. It's kind of like they feel like they're going against football on all these different nights. And it's like they just don't really care.
They tap out.
They just don't really care what they're giving you because they know that you'll be back in January. So it's one of those things where it's kind of it's discouraging to some effect. But at the same time, we know, looking at like the way house shows are being booked, and of course the way Raw was booked 2 weeks ago, which gave us a fantastic main event and some really cool spots. That the Shield, the young guns are about to get the heavy billing, and they're about to get they're going to be given a tryout basically during the fall to see how fans react. It's much like what we got with Daniel Bryan from SummerSlam until November of last year, where it was WWE just trying out Daniel Bryan as a single star. Let's see what we can do here, see if the fans respond, and they did. So it's one of those things. Now we've got Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins. Here's their time to shine. John, what are you looking forward to with this? Because that excites me a little bit.
Well, the exciting part about last fall, if you could find anything was exciting, was Doug. You and I, in particular, were able to start mapping out WrestleMania in the fall, which, I mean, we had a pretty good sense of what was going to happen. And maybe that happened by luck, but we did. So I think we'll start to see those seeds falling into place at some point over the next month or so. We'll get Ambrose and Rollins and Reigns all intertwining, and maybe at some point soon we'll get that triple threat that we've wanted. I feel like Ambrose's character could supply for a tweener / heelish face that would allow for us to do that at some point, and maybe we do get that going forward in this fall season, but I'm more focused right now on just them bringing some kind of closure to this Ambrose Rollins program, which I don't expect to get for at least another month when all is said and done.
No, and I'll say it's either going to come at the Hell in a Cell or the TLC pay-per-views. And for me, I mean, I think it goes through Survivor Series if it doesn't end at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I think there'll be some indirect carryover. I mean, we've talked about what we think our Survivor Series predictions will be, and it's still a little early for that. But the way I have it right now, I still have Team Authority versus Team Reigns, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
At which point we would still get that Rollins and Ambrose and Reigns interaction.
Right, because you know that Ambrose would be on Team Reigns. That's just a given at this point.
Right.
Because we're probably going to see Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose teaming up together at Night of Champions. From early indications and early reports, we had Ambrose actually booked to team up with Roman Reigns to go against Seth Rollins and Kane, which I'm sure we'll see tonight on Raw more of a build towards Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Kane in a handicap match, and then, of course, the crazy Dean Ambrose returns prior to the pay-per-view, either the go-home show on Raw or the actual pay-per-view itself. The last day for his filming of Lockdown is actually the day before Night of Champions, it's September 20th, so he should be wrapped up, done, and ready to come back the next night, which I fully expect for him to do.
Yeah, I told you last week I would book the handicap match for Night of Champions with Ambrose making the save. That's how I would book it. I think it's the best way to book Roman Reigns because he has to go against the odds, and then and then he has the guy come and help him out. That's, to me, the best way you could book that. I'd book it 1-on-3. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. But that's the thing, I think that it is going to be 2-on-1 at least. And, that's the whole mantra for Roman Reigns at this point, as one versus all. New merch, new everything coming out with one versus all on it. That's his mantra. We should get a handicap match book for Night of Champions. And that's not, in my opinion, best for business. And that's just my opinion.
So what would you do?
Oh, man. They're talking about saving Triple H versus Roman Reigns for Hell in a Cell, and I just don't think that's best for business. I think the biggest thing, maybe the Monday Night War will help get people to resubscribe. But more often than not, these things that are on the WWE Network are finding their way online anyway, some other way. Somebody's using some kind of streaming app to capture what they're watching on the network. Then they're posting it to other sites, and people are able to watch it anyway. Just like people are able to free stream pay-per-views on Sundays. It's one of those things where initially they were saying they wanted to book Night of Champions as a WrestleMania type event, John, and like we're not seeing anything like that, bro. And for me, it's like I would want Roman Reigns and Triple H for this. To give it we got one of the main events is going to be Brie Bella versus Nikki Bella.
I mean, the story has just not allowed for Triple H Roman Reigns right now.
I know.
And I'll tell you what. It may not even be Hell in a Cell. Survivor Series may be where that happens.
That's just ridiculous.
And I mean, Survivor Series is a good stage for that to happen in form of the teams, maybe, because the teams would be a nice tease to a single match between them. We've seen Triple H fight at TLC before. He had that fantastic match with Kevin Nash.
Sledgehammer match?
Yeah. It was an amazing match.
Absolutely.
But which WWE Network, as I pointed out to you guys, edited out Kevin Nash falling on the first pedigree.
Yes, he did.
they
edited out everything. Can we talk about the fact they edited out Kevin Nash saying, "Look at the adjective here on the Monday Night War." They literally show his promo on his first night on Nitro, and he says, "This is where the big boys play, huh?" Well, he says, we ain't here to play, which means they just incredibly just cut that part out where he says, look at the adjective here, play. Well, we ain't here to play. The measuring stick just changed around here. You're looking at it with his two-finger fingering motion.
Stop using adjectives, Doug.
You gotta stop using adjectives, says City UT. I mean, it's one of those things where, honestly, I really just couldn't. The things that they're editing out just make me hilarious.
Yes,
I just die out laughing.
The Monday Night War episode was very, very good last week.
Oh no! All the Monday Night War episodes have been awesome. Those that are in the chat, if you've been watching Monday Night War, you got anything that's really starting to really figure out what's going on, and you're loving this, like give us some things that are really standing out to you in the chat. Let us know, man. Let us know what you're loving about this stuff.
I want to hear from the chat too, because I posed this question on our Twitter and didn't get too many responses. Did your WWE Network subscription end this past week? And if so, did you resubscribe? I want to hear what you got to say, because we've been hearing some differing opinions. I personally let mine end, and then I re-upped it. I didn't do the automatic renewal. I know a lot of people did the automatic renewal.
Yeah, I did.
I let it end because I wanted to see where that trial period would be, and it is right now. And, I mean, very weird timing to do it 3 weeks before Night of Champions.
Well, the 6 months is over, man.
Yeah.
It ended on August 24th.
Yeah.
So it ended last Sunday. It's one of those things where you've got to, you got to end it no matter where it is. If you're going to do a 6-month subscription, you got to end it. Mine, I automatically set mine to resubscribe. I know that's something I'm going to invest in until the day that they get rid of it. So You know, I'm someone that watched every single pay-per-view anyway. I run a freaking wrestling site. You know, it's one of those things where pay $55 or pay 10.
There were a lot of casual fans who did not resubscribe from the network that responded to me, and I mean that's just a huge blow. That is a massive blow because it's telling you that your programming right now is not selling them, and which is amazing because they have perhaps the most legitimate champion they've ever had, and yet the rest of the programming is just not there.
Well, and a lot of people are blaming that on Lesnar not being there, and I think that's complete utter.
It's hogwash.
It's utter bullcrap. One of the best segments from Raw last week was a taped segment of Lesnar from last week, or from 2 weeks ago. When he was actually on the program, they taped 3 weeks worth of vignettes for the guy. Anyway, they weren't even supposed to show it last week. They felt like if they were going to make John Cena look huge, then they had to show the Lesnar footage to make that seem legitimate, seem like Lesnar still had a chance because they made John Cena look like a freaking superhero. We can talk about last week's Raw. We can. Yeah. Let's talk about the opening segment, which was poorly advertised, in my opinion, to begin with. One day before the show, or 2 days before the show, let's announce that Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and Shawn Michaels are going to be on the program, and then stick them with the most ridiculous scripts I've ever seen in my life, where these 3 Hall of Famers who are excellent on the microphone by themselves, never need anyone to write them anything, are reading this bullcrap that 25, 30-year-old writers sitting in the back wrote for them to say, without truly understanding the character of each, without allowing the character of each to shine through. I mean, they basically were like, Sean, you're the heel here, go be a heel character, go be a butthole. And it's one of those things where Sean couldn't even let his own character come out.
Well, he was
trying, but it seemed forced and awkward.
So there's so many plot holes. They had the guy who retired twice in his career, and Shawn Michaels, especially retiring at an older age, telling Cena to hang it up at age 37.
Right.
It made no sense. And Ric Flair, the guy who didn't retire until he was 60 whatever, telling him to hang it up.
Yeah, it's time to hang it up. And it's funny to me. Honestly, if it would have been a shoot, if these guys would have come out and said whatever they had to say, daggum well that Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, possibly Shawn Michaels, I don't know, but those 2 guys would have told him it's time to turn heel. It's time to evolve the character.
It ain't happening. Look, he gave an interview last week where he said he has one more heel run in him, but it's just never going to happen.
Nope, as he does what the WWE tells him to do.
Yeah, and it's just never going to happen, which sucks for a guy like that who, you would think after paying all the dues he has, he'd be entitled to some creative freedom. I mean, it's so different from with Hogan even. Hogan booked everything that he did. Hogan had creative control over everything. Cena,
was
who
the
has
only
probably
person to
paid
ever
his
have
dues.
creative
Cena has paid his dues 10 times more than Hulk Hogan did in his career. And yet Cena still has probably very limited creative control over what goes on.
Let's look at where the company was at the time too.
Yeah.
When you're talking about creative control, when you're talking about Hulk Hogan, when you're talking about the NWO, when you're talking about the Monday Night War that he was given creative control during, because he didn't have creative control in WWF when he was the champ.
Right.
But these guys like your Stone Cold Steve Austins, who had more pull to be able to say, I'm not going to lose to this guy. Rewrite it. If you go back and look at WrestleMania 18, where Stone Cold Steve Austin was supposed to put Scott Hall over, but said, I don't want to lose to Scott Hall. Well, I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's Scott Hall.
Well, first he was supposed to face Hogan. Back even more than that.
Exactly right, and he didn't. They didn't want to go through with that. So then it was
a lot of bad blood there.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. But Vince listened to Stone Cold because he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's the biggest name in his company at the time. Regardless of The Rock, regardless of Hulk Hogan coming back out. There's plenty of times where guys have said, I'm not going to put that guy over. Like, I don't want to go with that guy. I'm not going to put that guy over. Hulk Hogan got fired twice when he came back to the WWF because of his inability to do work with people. Most notably, the guy he was sitting beside during last Monday night's panel with Shawn Michaels. He said, I'm not going to put Shawn Michaels over at SummerSlam 2005. What did Shawn Michaels do? Oversold the entire match and made it as comical as possible and put Hulk Hogan over, and Hulk Hogan got fired right after that. I mean, that's one of those things where, he came back to WWF and realized he didn't have the creative control he had in WCW. Back then, when those guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin that were able to say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. With Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels before the screw job, having 90,000 meetings with Vince to talk about how they thought this should actually end. With Vince telling Bret at one point, okay, we'll have a schmoz and you can drop it the next night on Raw outside of Canada. And of course they did the screw to him. Vince listened to these guys. It wasn't a publicly traded company at the time. They got away with all the Attitude Era stuff because it wasn't a publicly traded company at the time. It wasn't a business. Now we're at this, the WWE's being sued by all different types of stockholder associations and legal conglomerates that represent stockholders. They're being sued by at least 5 different ones currently. Most of those for misleading the shareholders in terms of what the company was actually worth at the beginning of the year, as we saw Vince McMahon go back to being a billionaire and then losing $434 million in the span of 2 weeks. I mean, that's one of those things, or more than likely 2 days. But one of those things where that's where we are now. It's a publicly traded company. It's a business. They can't just, for the love of God, they can't just go with whatever creative storyline comes up in their brains anymore. It has to go down to, all right, this is creative, but does it work for our advertisers? Does it work for our stockholders? And that's a bad place to be in this kind of entertainment business.
Yeah, no, it is a bad place to be.
That's why they can't pull the trigger on Cena.
Yeah, and I don't know. It really boils down to the much bigger issue that no one else is there right now to take over as the number one babyface. That is, moreover than anything else, the biggest problem. And they're going to try with Reigns. And look, people love Roman Reigns, but I mean, the hardcore audience, as you've alluded to over the past few weeks, is buying a lot more into Dean Ambrose right now than Roman Reigns.
Because he's more of your anti-hero. He's more like your Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's more like a regular guy that you can get behind.
He's just more versatile than Roman Reigns is when all is said and done. And I got nothing against him. I enjoy watching Roman Reigns work a match. I enjoyed his match with Randy Orton at SummerSlam. It just, I don't know. You better pray, come all higher beings, that Roman Reigns is ready at WrestleMania 31 as your main event.
Oh, yeah, if they book him with Lesnar, dude, it's going to be...
Because if he is not ready, oh, man, do you have a problem. You have a Batista problem.
That's a good analogy as well. Let's talk about Batista. Batista said he's not coming back this year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, not all that surprising at this point. Why should he? If he thinks he's going to get some more looks, which we know there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and...
He's starting in the reboot. He's starting in the reboot of Kickboxer.
Right. So I mean, at that point, why even worry? You know.
And why risk yourself getting injured like The Rock did at WrestleMania 29?
Right. He'll make more money. Not that really held The Rock back from doing anything, but
he had to spend 10 weeks rehabbing to get ready for Hercules.
Yeah, but he'll make more money doing films. You know, he wants to do one more match. Fine, he'll come back, do one more match. It would make sense to do it with Triple H.
Yeah.
Write him off. I mean, the problem with Batista was Batista really got back in the swing of things towards the end of this current run. Yeah. We remember how slow he started. I mean,
he had a lot of ring rust.
His Elimination Chamber match with Del Rio was atrocious. And Del Rio was one of the best ring workers they had. So, I mean, that was really a testament to him. But, I mean, he was great at WrestleMania. He was great at Extreme Rules. He was awesome at Payback.
Really good at Payback.
Bad timing.
I agree. It's one of those things where he's just going to likely take the Punk road and sit at home and collect the check.
He's earned it.
He's earned it. I mean, he literally signed a contract. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid for sitting at home.
And, you know, if he's pissed off with how he was booked, and you know what, I think he has validity too, because Batista, whether you want to admit it or not you, but people in general, he also is a student of the game. That's a guy who loves professional wrestling. He does. And he had a great point with why he was pissed off about WrestleMania. And it had nothing to do with him actually losing. He didn't care that he lost. He was happy to put over his buddy. But the problem was, Vince tells Daniel Bryan to no-sell after being stretchered off the night before. He tells him to no-sell. And, I mean, I'd be pissed off if I'm being used as this monster heel to try to get a guy over and hurt him at all capacity, and then he makes me tap while injured. You'd want the guy to at least be selling the effects from that.
Yeah, and I mean, oh god, I just you can see the writing coming from Vince nowadays. Is just he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of anything that the fans actually want right now. It's one of those things where if you've watched the Monday Night War, you've watched the Monday Night War, you know where they were in '95. We're back to that. Cartoonish characters coming up from NXT. Chris Walter had an excellent article about Adam Rose
But what's
and
funny
characters
about that,
like
Doug,
that on WrestlingRumors.net. You need to read that if you haven't done so yet.
what's funny about that is many of those cartoonish characters are actually Triple H creations and not Vince creations.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
you know, and some of them are the ones that Vince doesn't like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of the realistic characters like your Dean Ambrose and your Seth Rollins, like those guys are Triple H. You know, those are Triple H's guys. And some of these people coming up with like CJ, the hippie character, CJ Parker, Mojo Rawley, the Vaudevillains, and they entertain me, but it's not going to work on a major scale.
That's a pre-show match.
Your Bailey character, who's likely going to be the next NXT Women's Champ, so Charlotte can come up. Charlotte's more real. Charlotte's more believable. She's the daughter of a two-time Hall of Famer.
That's why Emma didn't work.
Emma didn't work. I said Emma wouldn't work from day one.
And she was crazy over in NXT.
Yeah, and it's not going to work. You saw how hard they had to bring AJ Lee back to do a feud with Paige to get Paige over. Paige wasn't over. Paige had the title for 3 months and wasn't over.
Paige also had zero gimmick at all when she had the title.
I'm just saying, it's ridiculous that these people, I mean, they expect these characters to be over coming from NXT. And the only ones that have really worked, I mean, and the thing is, dude, Bo Dallas is getting over whether you like it or not. As we've seen the last few weeks, he gets a pop every time he comes out, no matter what he's doing.
I still don't like that feud, though.
No, the feud's terrible between Bo Dallas and Jack Swagger going forward. It's awful. That should never have happened. But the thing is, the guy's getting over. Anytime he comes out and shows his charisma, he gets over. Same thing with Cesaro. When they give him time on the mic, when they give him time to actually show his charisma, exactly what he did on Raw last week, which was probably the only good match on the card, and it was quick, and you knew that Cesaro was going over Rob Van Dam because Rob Van Dam was going to leave early. But we got to see some charisma. And now I have a feud for the U.S. title that I actually want to see. I want to see Sheamus and Cesaro because I've seen their back and forth over the last few weeks. I've seen it on Twitter. I saw it at the WWE 2K15, the roster reveal panel. Like those two guys were going at each other verbally. That was entertaining to me. I'm excited for this feud going forward.
Do you like this Cesaro character? I mean, his character changes every week. But do you like the character they've chosen over the past couple of weeks? The cocky, I'm just going to prove it in the ring kind of character?
I wish they would give him more time on the mic because the time that he got before John Cena a month ago, before their match in Raw, was fantastic. But I love the character. It allows him to show his charisma.
That's gonna be a stellar match.
He's gonna get over because of it. The thing is that when they put him with Heyman, when they took away the swing, when they took away all these different things, elements of him that were getting over, and told him you can't do that right now, he stopped getting over. It just was a deadpan, a dead in the pan character at that point. But now he's actually showing his charisma. He's getting over. And I think that it's going to work. And I think Bo Dallas is going to work if they just actually let them go out and don't put shackles on them. Let them get over. I think the way that they booked, as we talked about, John Cena on Monday Night Raw last week was ridiculous. He ran through the Wyatt family with ease. And you and I talked about this. If it had been the go-home show, probably wouldn't have been as bad. Right. If it would have been any other faction, if it would have been any other group of guys that they put together to go through like that, I think it wouldn't have been as big an issue. But it was Bray Wyatt who just came off a monstrous win over Chris Jericho at SummerSlam.
Let alone a monstrous feud with Cena not all that long ago.
Correct. And then it was just like, none of this matters. None of that matters. Bray Wyatt doesn't matter. The Wyatt family doesn't matter. John Cena's, and of course that was Vince, and he changed the script 3 hours before the program. It wasn't supposed to be that way. But that's what we got. And I'm anxious to see what we get tonight because we know that Randy Orton is going to be on the highlight reel with Chris Jericho.
Let's talk about that.
We're talking about we never got closure to Randy Orton, Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and we never got closure to Wyatt Jericho.
Closure to Chris Jericho, Bray Wyatt, unless those two matches at SummerSlam were it.
I think so.
Me, Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton can't be over because that match was incredible and Randy Orton came this close to winning, that there's got to be more.
Let alone the fact that the SmackDown after SummerSlam, Orton walks over to the announcer table and say, "Tell them I want Reigns."
Exactly.
but then Orton's off TV last week. Jericho's off TV last week. So maybe that's
vacations. What the heck?
So maybe that's just why. But there was like no mention of Chris Jericho. There was barely anything.
No mention of either one of them until they announced the highlight reel.
It just. And maybe these two have a one-off match at Night of Champions for no reason. Which
that would make no sense, John.
None. It wouldn't make any sense. But I mean, there's been no reason for us to believe that Wyatt cares about Jericho, unless Jericho comes back after Wyatt right now.
Right, which I totally agree could happen. But at the same time, it's Orton on the highlight reel. So Jericho's going to be grilling Orton about Roman Reigns. You know that's going to be.
Do you think we get maybe Jericho and Reigns tonight versus Wyatt and Orton, and maybe that's when we get more involvement from Kane and Seth Rollins, and maybe that's where we get the 3-on-1 for Night of Champions? I'm just throwing out fantasy booking right here. I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to make sense, and I'm having a hard time doing that.
But the thing is that the venue for Night of Champions promoted Kane and Seth Rollins versus Ambrose and Reigns.
That means very little in the end.
I understand it as well, but if that's the initial booking, then that means Orton's with somebody else. And who does he go against?
Well, it would be Jericho in this case, but
it just makes zero sense.
And who the hell does Wyatt go with?
It makes absolute.
You can't not have Wyatt on the pay-per-view.
No, it makes zero sense completely, and that brings up: do you put someone with Show and Henry to go against the entire Wyatt family? And that's not a match that anyone would want to see. I mean,
that's how they've been looking at it lately.
It can be Jericho and Show and Show Henry or whatever you want to call them versus the Wyatt family to send Jericho out with a win. But that just makes the Wyatt family look so weak.
It does. And I don't know, there's a lot of interesting movement right now in that tag team picture, Doug. Last week we saw a heel turn by the Rhodes brothers.
Right.
Goldust and Stardust.
They furthered it on SmackDown as well. They apologized. They apologized for the heelish actions, and then of course Cody lost and went nuts again. So you got a heel team here, and of course we know why we have a heel team now from them, because they lost their heel team of Ryback.
Right.
Ryback is out with a hernia and all that jazz.
And he's coming back to win the world title, but we
never.
We have. I'm very interested. Goldust is one of my all-time favorite heels. When Goldust was at his best was when he was a heel. It's the first time he's been a heel in 6 years. It's the first time Cody's been a heel in a year. And, I mean, we know, again, we keep mentioning this over the last week, but students of the game here, there may not be two better ones than Goldust and Stardust right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very excited to see this different range of character and definitely how it affects Stardust's moveset. I know you love his moveset.
His moveset's sick.
Let's see how him being a heel affects that. We're going to get a stellar match at Night of Champions between them and the Usos, and they may win it.
They may win it. I would bank on them actually winning it. They've teased taking the titles off the Usos for a while, even though God knows you can't predict that because you never know what's going to actually happen.
We've been wrong. We predicted it to get off them, so.
Chris Walter's the only one that picked the Usos correctly every single time.
Chris Walter also picked Paige via disqualification, and she didn't win via DQ.
Yeah.
I'll protest that, baby.
Well, you got Paige and AJ Lee continuing their little thing. They're teasing this lesbian angle with them, which is a little. It's pushing the PG, and it's interesting. It's making their feud interesting. People are actually paying attention. And I think it's adding a little bit of an element that needed to be there, even though it's kind of sick and twisted, and I like it.
But it's still not the main female feud.
It's not. It's the Bellas are the main female feud, and that's the most ridiculous thing that the WWE is trying to push on us as fans right now. It really is. It's the most ridiculous thing. I don't care. It's the most unbelievable angle. It is the most poorly performed diva angle. And I just say haste the day when Charlotte comes up and has Ric Flair in her corner, and they actually can do some cool diva stuff. I haste the day, man. Bring it on, because I'm tired of seeing these Bella twins doing anything together. It's bad.
It's just amazing because we probably haven't had this much investment in a Divas Championship feud or a female championship feud since Mickey and Trish.
Yeah.
And Mickey and Trish, we all know, was one of the best women's feuds of all time. But now we're getting this, and it's of similar proportions, and yet all of a sudden it's being overshadowed just by a program that nobody cares about. I mean, you know what? I'll give them this credit. It'll probably be a decent match because the Bella Twins have gone a lot better in the ring than what they used to be, especially
well,
Nikki.
they have good coaches in their.
I mean, they have two of the best coaches. So,
right.
I mean, it'll be a decent match, but the program just sucks.
It's bad.
And
the
you know what's
in-ring
going to happen
promos
here,
are just
Doug?
bad.
Bree is going to come away with nothing here. Bree is.
There's nothing that she can.
She's going to have lost to Stephanie McMahon. She's going to have lost to Nikki because there's no way she's going over Nikki.
Oh, there's no way.
So
Absolutely no way.
It's very similar to what they wish they could have done to Bryan.
You know what, though? You know what? Nikki may actually get beat if she continues this reign of heelish acts.
I mean, I'll give her the credit where it's due. She's going full heel, and actually is attacking with her heels.
Yeah, but if she keeps this up tonight and next week and even at the go home show, I'll say that Brie actually gets the win.
And then when we get the Hell in a Cell match between the two of them.
Oh, sweet Lord. God awful. The only Hell in a Cell match that I actually want to see is Ambrose and Rollins.
Do you want to see Lesnar? Do you want to see Lesnar in the cell?
He's advertised. I would love to see Lesnar in the cell, but who do you?
Who the hell is he going against?
He and Cena are done at this point. If they're done on September 21st,
I mean,
he's still the champ.
Here's where
who do you put in there with him?
Well, here's where you can get away with it, Doug. This is what I would do. Here's where you can get away with things. You can have Mark Henry face Lesnar if you're going to co-main event that with Triple H and Reigns.
No, not even at this point.
If you're going to co-main event it with Triple H and Reigns, you can do it. But if you're not going to co-main event it, you can't.
Not believable at this point. He punked Henry so bad. He punked Henry months ago.
They need a carrier. They have nobody else. They have zero.
It's got to be Orton. It's got to be. You know, they talked about turning Orton face. It's got to be Orton. Give Orton his rematch finally. Put it in the cell. But then there's no. That's the thing. If you put Lesnar in a cell, it's got to be against Cena because that's the only thing. The Hell in a Cell. I don't care if it's because of the name of the pay-per-view or not. The Hell in a Cell is what the cage used to be in the territory days. It's the end of a feud. It should be the last match that these guys have before they move on to someone else.
It should be, but that doesn't mean that's not how it's been booked the past few years.
I understand, and that's what I'm saying. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that just because it's called Hell in a Cell, they have to put a title match or somebody in a cell. You know why Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28 worked so well?
Because it was the end.
It meant something.
Yeah.
Okay, it meant something. It was the end of an era. It was Taker versus Triple H again, and it meant something.
Yeah.
And you know, when you get cell matches that actually mean something, then you got a formula that works. Yeah, there's no point in having a cell match.
Yeah.
Just like, to me, honestly, there's no point in having an Elimination Chamber match unless it's for a title or for a number one contendership. There's no point. And for me, also, like, TLC matches should be for freaking titles or for Money in the Banks. That's it. And honestly, if we don't get Ambrose and Rollins is your hottest feud. You don't get Ambrose and Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match in October.
Well, that's where the feud should end. Absolutely, no doubt about it.
But if it doesn't, then take it at TLC, put that briefcase on the line. That's my opinion. That's my fantasy booking with that. I think that's the only way you can go.
Can you imagine a 5-month feud with these guys?
These guys can go and for 6 months and have an extended feud.
Yeah.
Something we haven't seen.
There's just so much history. There's so much history with them that it works.
And they've shown that history on the WWE Network, which is fantastic.
And again, you can get Roman Reigns involved with that if need be. You know, there's a lot you can do with it.
And that's how you get them through to Survivor Series. You do include Roman Reigns, and you do for the next 3 pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And then you have Romans and Ambrose finally have their last match at TLC in December for that briefcase.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be something.
It would interest me.
It would interest me as well. I mean, if all works out, I think we're going to have lightning in the bottle here because we, for the first time, face the chance of having the Royal Rumble. If Lesnar's champion, the Royal Rumble will really mean something. The Royal Rumble will be a really big freaking deal if Lesnar's champion. But let's talk about that. There's a lot of people out there, Justin LeBar being one of them, who think that there's a chance that John Cena takes the title right back and that Vince is double thinking himself and Lesnar drops the title. And if let's do a little fantasy talk here, Doug. Lesnar drops the title. That has to go down as the top 5 worst decision in wrestling history, doesn't it?
A lot of people would say, a lot of casual fans would say Lesnar beating the streak was one of the worst. They've
at least held true to it. They've held true to it. They've made it worth it happening with him being the champion.
But they fail. They've done so far. Him destroying Cena the way that he did at SummerSlam and winning the title was them making good on the streak win.
Yep.
But if he gives that title right back to John Cena the next month, and without any kind of cheating, without any kind of, if Cena doesn't have to cheat to win, if he comes back as Super Cena and runs through Lesnar just like he did Bray Wyatt and the entire Wyatt family on Raw last week, then they have nullified the streak win. They have nullified everything that they've booked Lesnar as since Royal Rumble of this year.
And my prediction last week was, and this changes on a weekly basis, but my prediction last week was that we see just a straight-up match with him and Cena. And what we're going to see from Cena is a much closer loss for him, if you get what I'm saying, where he gets more offense in and maybe even has Lesnar pretty close to tapping or a pinfall, and then Lesnar squeaks away and puts him down. But that shouldn't even be how it's booked. It really should.
But that's how you take. But honestly, if you do it that way, if you do it to Cena barely loses, that's how you take this feud to Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And you do a final match between these guys at Hell in a Cell. In the cell. And then Cena can go over because he uses the cell to his advantage. And I don't like it, but I would be less aggravated at Cena winning the title back if he did it inside of a cell and they used the cell to the advantage. And they can do that with saying, Brock Lesnar is was a 2-time UFC champion and is the king of the octagon and the cage,
king of the
blah,
cage.
blah, blah, and Cena goes over.
There's nothing wrong with someone beating Lesnar for the title, but it can't be Cena. And it's not because of the super Cena, the stale Cena. It can't be him. It can't be that guy that just dropped it. It has to be someone new. And it's funny because I find ourselves repeating what we were saying about Taker. Oh, when Taker's streak ends, it has to be someone who's going to be made by it.
But do you have to believe that anymore? Because I don't. Yeah. I don't believe that. Well, WrestleMania 30 killed that. I don't believe that anymore.
As interesting as it is, I'll argue that breaking streak made Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was viewed as a badass, no doubt about it, but back before he broke the streak, if he lost, it wasn't a big deal. Now, if Brock Lesnar loses, it is a huge deal
because he got the streak
right. Well, that's what I'm saying is.
Yeah, exactly
I think it did make him.
It did.
It made Brock Lesnar maybe the most infamous man in wrestling history, from a performer standpoint. Maybe not as a gimmick, but I mean now he goes into the Hall of Fame as the absolute headliner.
And that was also the catalyst to being able to look back at all the wins in Lesnar's column and go, look at how dominant this guy is. He beat Kurt Angle for the title. He beat The Undertaker for the title. He beat The Rock for the title. And he beat The Undertaker every single time they had matches at pay-per-views. He never lost to The Undertaker, ever. The only time that The Undertaker won a match was via countout on SmackDown between those two guys. So he beat the most influential guy in the WWE ever, as far as, being the guy in the locker room, being the guy that everyone respects the most, more respected than Hogan, more respected than Michaels, more respected than Flair as far as WWE goes. He went head-to-head with The Undertaker 5 times on pay-per-view and never lost. He destroyed the Big Show. He destroyed Triple H. He beat CM Punk. All these different guys, the best in the world. He beat all these people dominantly, and of course then dominated John Cena to the point where Cena should not have even been on Raw last week. But Cena's going to be on Raw again tonight, and I bet we see the same exact kind of stuff that we saw last week. I guarantee he comes out and runs his mouth about the fact that he is here, he is the champ, and then we get a 6-man tag with him and Show and Henry versus the Wyatt family. And guess who wins?
I mean, if they repeated the main event from last week again...
Guarantee it.
You're going to guarantee it? I'm not going to guarantee a repeat.
Because it was on SmackDown again, too, and I guarantee you they just pull it out again.
Well, it was Reigns on SmackDown, right?
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's somebody one of the faces tagging with Show and Henry against the entire Wyatt family.
I don't know if it's going to be the Wyatt family. I could see him doing it with another entity.
The Authority? I mean, you put the Authority in the match, but then you got Roman Reigns. So maybe a tag with Reigns and Cena versus...
Like I said, Reigns, Cena, Jericho, Rollins, Kane, Orton. And maybe that's where we get more...
But then the Wyatts have to interfere.
Yeah, I don't know. It's... and this is not them having us stumped in a good way. This is them having us stumped in a... Man, this is a depressing.
This is a bad road that we're in right now, because it's one of those things. Too, I honestly don't believe that Lesnar. I don't believe that they believe anything's sacred anymore. So I would totally believe that they honestly think that Cena can beat Lesnar again. Is it Night of Champions? I probably wouldn't book it that way, but if it was to be at Hell in a Cell, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's just the real problem is that there's no one else there to face Lesnar. I mean, look, if this was Daniel Bryan would have SummerSlam, he'd have Night of Champions, and then Cena would be Hell in a Cell in Survivor Series.
Yep.
But without that, I don't think you can do more than one more Cena match. You seem to think it can go to Hell in a Cell, and I think it could, but I don't think logically you can have even another match between these guys.
Well, we're going to find out on Raw here shortly. The kickoff show starts in 15 minutes. Let's keep talking. We got people in the chat room, obviously, and people all over the internet since the craziness took place on the internet. Actually, this stuff started when the PlayStation 3 got hacked, and everybody was talking about it a week ago. The following day, the Xbox got hacked, and everybody was talking about that. Microsoft got hacked. 4 or 5 different banks over the last 4 days have been hacked, and we're talking gigabytes worth of personal data for people have been stolen from 2 of the largest banks in America. Hackers are on the roll, and that was from Russian hackers. They pinpointed their IP address.
Rusev Kudria.
Right, it's all because of Rusev and Lana. Yes. And of course, now we have this huge celebrity hacking going on because there's a hole in the Apple Find My iPhone app. There was in the script, it actually allowed you to hack into people's phones via the Find My iPhone app. If someone could figure out someone's Apple handle for iTunes Store, then they could find the person's phone and hack into it and figure out what's going on. Obviously, celebrities like Jennifer Lawrence and Kate Upton decided, because they're sluts in real life, and there's a lot of people that actually... It's funny to me how this is like a common thing for people nowadays. I can tell you straight up, I don't have any naked pictures of my wife on my phone. If I want to look at my wife naked, I'll go upstairs
and just ask her.
I'll go upstairs and have sex with my wife. I'm not going to ask my girlfriend or my wife or whoever, hey, send me a nudie of you right now. But it's something that's like all these young people are all about taking nude pictures of themselves.
Not I.
Having them on their clouds and having them on their computers. And now all these celebrities, they get hacked, and then it's, oh, well, woe is me. People stole my private stuff. Why are you taking naked pictures of yourself?
Now we know why.
Why is someone taking a picture of their stream of man cream all over Kate Upton's back? Why is this happening?
Because he's having a terrible year pitching, and that's the only thing he was able to throw.
Well, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, why is that a picture you take? Oh, that was a huge one. I'm going to take a picture of just lay still. Why? Why is this happening? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why. Like this is actually happening. Like why people think it's the sexy thing to do. I'm gonna take a bunch of, Jennifer Lawrence is gonna pose like she would pose for Playboy with a glass of wine.
Go to Playboy.
She's just like, and she's got her freaking glass of wine over her. Just gross, lost so much weight, her flimsy boobies, and it's like we're gonna like, she obviously acknowledged that it was actually her and said this is a flagrant violation.
Kudos to her.
And a lot of these people, I think there were a couple that said that they were fakes, even though you can tell obviously these are not fake. There's nothing from the Upton camp has come out, but someone hacked into either CM Punk and or AJ Lee's phone and had just had two pictures from their wedding.
Very casual pictures.
One of them with, someone took a picture of him in a tux with her in the dress and they're just smiling at the camera. The next one is them cutting the cake. And what we saw at 1 a.m. yesterday was CM Punk went on a freaking... He went two tweets in saying, anyone that retweets that picture, I'm going to effing, block you because I can't actually punch you in your disrespectful way. As if he wasn't blocking people left and right anyway. But one of these things where, he was pissed off that this thing got leaked, and it's just a nice wedding photo. I don't understand what the guy has an issue with.
He's a very private person, Doug.
I understand that. I understand people want their privacy. But when the guy is constantly talking about his wife, AJ Lee, on Twitter, it's not a secret. So it's, to me, to be that offended by a wedding picture is beyond me. Unless there was something between those guys, between WWE and AJ and CM Punk and all this kind of stuff that they weren't supposed to say it, like straightforward who she's married to. That's the only thing that I can think of. It
was very weird. It was very strange. I just took it as him just being very private when all said and done. But we do know now that they are traveling together, at least in some capacity, because he tweeted last night about AJ watching Breaking Bad and screaming and said, if anyone in Des Moines has heard a blood-curdling scream, that was my wife. And guess where Raw is tonight? So, hey.
Right, I mean, he's definitely traveling with her. You got to think that they're in the bus. I mean, he bought a freaking travel bus. I mean, he bought a nice freaking bus. WWE didn't buy that for him. So it's one of those things where he paid for that thing.
AJ Lee, Kofi. AJ Lee, Kofi. AJ Lee,
not playing video games with Kofi Kingston anymore.
Nothing against Kofi, because Kofi seems like a great guy.
They may be, maybe they are. Maybe they are during AJ's matches when Kofi isn't working. He can go out to the bus and play video games.
When Kofi's not being used in a stable.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. Where the fact that they're working dark matches, but you won't see him on TV working it.
At least not yet. At least not yet.
I'm looking up for it, man. That's the best thing for these guys' careers. That all three of them need it, and they can work together. I don't care if they're faces or heels or tweeners. I don't care. All three of these guys need that. It started getting interest in them again, and then they just squashed it, and now they brought it back, and I hope that it garners some attention because the tag team division certainly needs it, and I think that it would be the best for all of the above because they're not going to get any other shots at championships or shots at being on TV if they're not together.
Last report, WWE told them to be ready. They just don't know when, but to be ready.
I mean, they have music, too.
I mean, Brodus Clay was told to be ready for his monster heel return, and then he was the Funkasaurus the next week. So,
correct. People flip the script really quick in WWE. There was a very awesome interview from Sam Roberts with Goldust, where during the SummerSlam week, and he was talking to Goldust, and Goldust literally said, they flipped the script. It's the most stressful time in the business right now. Even during the Monday Night War, it wasn't as stressful as now. They could go out and be themselves, go out and do whatever the heck they wanted to at that point. But he literally said, now that this is a publicly traded company, now this is a company that relies on stockholders and advertising companies and all these different partnerships that they have with Be a Star and Make-A-Wish and all these different things. It's different. It's a different ball game. They have meetings each week where they tell them this is what you can say on Twitter, this is what you can't say on Twitter. Obviously, if you've been following CM Punk before his vacation and now, you can see a difference in how he talks. Obviously, that's the case. They can. If you followed Goldust prior to him coming back to WWE, you can tell a difference in what he tweeted then and what he tweets now. That's heavily relegated and very, very censored and PG, and they try to, that's why, Ryback's whole gimmick is I'm going to tweet something and delete it so they can't say. I think they've given him free reign to tweet whatever the heck he wants and then delete it.
He was amazing. A certain
amount of time to delete it. I really think that honestly think that he has free reign in that retrospect. He might be the only one because it's his gimmick or whatever.
He was amazing in the video.
Oh, the video is the first time I ever saw something from Ryback I actually liked. I'm not gonna lie, I hate his gimmick. I hate his finish. I hate his voice. I hate his voice. I hate his gimmick. I hate his finish. I hate his chant. I hate just about everything about the guy. I hate his unis. I hate the airbrushed things that they have on it.
Hey, RVD stole it from him.
Yeah. Again, the first time I actually enjoyed something from Ryback was in his video where he's saying I'm going away for a little while because he's having surgery and he was actually hooked up and he was freaking high on meds. It was one of those things. That was one of the first things I actually liked from the guy. And I said if he gets to do this every single week and gets to be this character in singles, he might get over because it was very charismatic. It was very interesting. It was the first thing I actually liked from the guy. If we get more of that, we're good. And he can be a mid-card guy, high mid-card guy. I don't ever see him holding that WWE World Heavyweight Championship though. Ever. They killed that opportunity.
They did, and we could talk about that for a freaking hour. Before we go, if anyone's got any questions, throw them at us. Doug, I know you're looking at the chat. I'm not, but I want to say this while people throw some questions at us. Best thoughts out to Jake the Snake Roberts.
Definitely.
Obviously, we've heard what happened with him this week. It sounds like he's in higher spirits, which is a good thing.
He's making jokes.
I had a chance to meet Jake the Snake WrestleMania weekend. I met him at a PWS show about a year prior to that. He was much more clear-minded the second time around. He was more than willing to stop and talk with us, even as he was just trying to get his coffee and catch his flight. Nothing but positive vibes for him. Hope he can recover quickly.
Yeah, I've met him before as well. Very, very, especially over the last year, it's a complete different person than the guy that I met. But he's very humble now. He loves taking time to acknowledge his fans. He's very thankful for everyone. I actually did a Wrestling Rumors radio on that last week, talking about right when the news broke about his condition. Was on Off the Top Rope Radio with Brian Shank when that news came across, and talked about it on there, and then of course got out and did a radio spot on Wrestling Rumors for it. And I really do just want to send our prayers and condolences to him and his family, hoping that he does come around fully soon, and that the mass and everything on his brain is not going to be
serious,
very serious. They're going to test that out. I know they did a bronchial surgery today to remove the phlegm and stuff that's been complicating his pneumonia. And they really, they've gone through with that stuff, and we're hoping that the mass is nothing serious. We've got 5 minutes. If you're in the chat, ask us a question. Tell us what tell us what you are looking forward to tonight's show. Looks like we got someone coming in the last minute, or at least trying to. Haven't seen the video come through yet. Just seeing an image at this point.
B stands for Buzzer Beater B song.
I don't think he's there. I think he just somehow
he's Rybacking us.
Started to come through. Alex B Song's trying to join in the last 5 minutes of our program.
He's Rybacking us right now.
In the chat, give us a question that you want answered, or tell us what you're looking forward to tonight. Patrick asked you, Alba, how would you book Ziggler in the IC title going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't talked about it. I hate the stuntman thing they have with Sandow.
I actually love it, but go ahead.
You like it? I think it just kills anything that the guy is capable of doing personally, especially if he's mocking someone else's moveset. I hate that idea for him. We've seen other gimmicks that have been copying other wrestlers, and I don't dig it. It works well for Miz in the short term.
Yes. That's why I like it.
As far as Ziggler goes, I could see them playing a game of flip-flop between the two of them. Ultimately, though, I think Ziggler's actually going to retain it at Night of Champions because I think they have done enough. They know.
Yeah, I think it's time to push him with something because I think they know that
the
crowd's super behind him.
I don't know if you've watched any videos on WWE.com in the last week, but
they're actually on the front page of WrestlingRumors.net as well.
He's in every single advertisement now
Yeah.
Ziggler. They know he can talk now. So I think they're going to actually ride him out a little bit.
I don't think they've ever had a question about him being able to talk. I think they were just nervous that he.
Well, there was a time when people did not trust him on the mic.
Well, I mean, a lot of the not trusting though was, before he actually was able to be himself. When he was working with Vicky and all that, and a lot of the non-trust there was that issue. Then the non-trust was, this guy is gonna put himself over and bury other people. We can't trust that either.
Which
now they've right, and now they've come around with, okay, he's been more respectful. Fans are super behind the guy. It's time to do something with him, so we're gonna give him the title. I actually liked the whole Sandow being Mizdow thing. I'm not saying it has to go forever, but I like it. I like the fact that they hinted towards the fact that if Sandow beat Ziggler on Raw last week, that he would be the actual #1 contender, not The Miz. That gives an interesting dynamic there. It allows The Miz to be just a dick on the microphone the entire match. They're not doing anything else with Sandow at the time anyway. I think it's a good way to get him in the ring, show people how good he is. He was actually better doing The Miz's moves than Miz is, and that was
he did do a better figure four.
That's a credit. That's a credit to Damien Sandow and how freaking good he is in the ring. And it's one of those things where I seriously think that it's the best thing going for both guys right now. It gives The Miz an out, gives him an A-Rye kind of character again to fall back on, and of course it gives Damien Sandow something to do on TV. And he's actually shining through it. Acer wants to know, do we think that the dust to dust, as Lawler affectionately refers to them on TV, Stardust and Goldust, do we think that they're better baby faces or heels? Well, Acer, let me just say this at the moment. I personally love Goldust as a heel as much as I love him as a face. I love his heel stuff more. He can be more aggressive, and we know that he's a very aggressive guy in the ring, so it kind of matches more when he's being a heel character as well as being aggressive in the ring. But they just literally turned. Give us some time. Let us see how it works together. Obviously, we know that Cody Rhodes can be a good heel character, but now this is a completely different.
You know what I like about it, Doug? I like that the heel turn happened because they want the titles.
Right.
That is why the heel turn happened,
yes.
Which to me gave purpose to them actually changing this character.
I totally agree, completely, and it's one of those things that makes the titles more relevant, and I'm extremely excited about that. So hopefully, moving forward tonight, we get the Dusts interacting with the Usos again, being more aggressive, and I'll let you know, in the next couple weeks whether I like this heel Dust combo more than the face Dust combo. The thing is, as heels, they're going to be actually in the ring more instead of just doing backstage promos, and that makes me excited because I love watching these two guys wrestle. I've always loved Goldust in the ring. I have been absolutely enamored with Stardust, and that may have been because over the first 4 weeks of him being Stardust, anytime he was in the ring, he was trying out new finishes, he was trying out new moves, and his movesets were absolutely incredible. But now he's gone back to using Cody Rhodes' moveset with one finish, and he's still very, very good.
This also gives them the out to do Cody versus Dustin when they want to now. Except it'll be Gold versus Star, which is even cooler, kind of. So I'm cool with it.
I like it too. And people are asking about our new live interaction through Raw. It actually will not be starting tonight. It's going to be starting next week. Today's Labor Day. A lot of people are going to be gone. We've obviously, again, I took the day off outside of doing this show. I haven't been on any kind of social media, really. I haven't been on the internet. I've stayed away from technology. Obviously going to turn on Raw here and live tweet with you guys tonight, but we haven't set up anything. But there's going to be a special page every single week going forward, starting next Monday night, that you can come to on WrestlingRumors.net. We'll have a chat just like we have in our show right here, but it's going to be more interactive. Obviously, there won't be 2 windows for you to have to pay attention to. You'll just have to pay attention to your television and the live chat. So that's where you can plug in. I mean, if you guys want to stay in this chat during the show tonight and want to talk to each other, go right ahead. I mean, the chat doesn't leave. So you can go ahead and do that, or you can make your way over to WrestleReaction.net /watch. Get in their chat room and talk all the way up.
Vince Russo's on tonight.
Vince Russo, who joined us prior to SummerSlam, will be joining Wrestle Reaction tonight. with Frank Manzo and Joe Omega. We love those guys, and we love Vince Russo, and we want you guys to tune into that immediately following Raw. It's going to be a fantastic program. Hopefully tonight's Raw is something that is good for them.
That's for business.
To talk about, because I can guarantee you, if Raw sucks like it did last week, Russo's going to rip it into pieces, and that made me just as entertaining as having a good show to talk about. But watch Wrestle Reaction.
Nitro debuts on the network tonight. So
Nitro debuts, the first episode, which no one needs to watch until the 20-minute mark, until the 20-minute is left mark, actually. The last few matches of that episode are the best thing. Jushin Liger and Brian Pillman are awesome. And, of course, Sting versus Flair, where we get, I mean, the Hogan match is awful. But then you get, Sting versus Flair with Luger coming out, and then, of course, Hogan and them coming out is a good, oh, my God moment. It was for me as a, freaking 11-year-old kid going, what? So that's why that episode is special to me. And I do love that last segment, but the rest of the episode's not great. So if you're really excited about watching Nitro, just watch Wrestle Reaction instead, and then turn on the network and catch the last 20 minutes of it to catch the good stuff. But Wrestle Reaction immediately following Raw. Make sure you tune into that. John, been real. Enjoyed it, brother. Always enjoyable to sit down with the Wrestling Rumors crew and talk about wrestling and everything coming up on Raw and on the pay-per-views. So make sure you catch Wrestling Warm-Up next week. Make sure you're tuning into WrestlingRumors.net every single day to get your wrestling fix. New
back,
podcast
baby.
coming out tomorrow.
I'm back.
John Alba's back on there covering some news. I'm covering some news. Walter's been editorial happy lately and putting some really good opinions up. B-Song's been cranking out some really good material as well. We're just coming at you firing all cylinders at this point. We have an encyclopedia of the entire year of 2013, the unofficial year in WWE, coming out very soon for you guys to own. It was very awesome. A lot of stats, a lot of honestly, if you didn't watch anything in 2013 and you want to fill somebody in on what happened, all you got to do is turn to this 213-page encyclopedia and you got every single thing that went down. Deaths, freaking championship reigns, championship bursts, debuts. You got everything.
You can just skip October.
And that's a big, and you wrote that chapter.
I wrote that chapter. Don't tell you, don't even bother.
It had two pay-per-views in it, and that's how bad October was in 2013. But that's coming out to you guys soon. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter so that you guys get the first chances to get that for extremely cheap, if not free. So make sure you're watching out for that. Make sure you follow us at Wrestle Rumors. We'll be live tweeting all throughout Raw and the Raw Kickoff Show, which is on now. This has been Doug McDonald and John Alba, WrestlingRumors.net. We'll catch you on the next one.